Good afternoon and welcome to my hobby table again. Welcome to a new video series titled I've Got Wood on the Table. So yes, I do have wood on the table for the first time in many years, and let's look and see what I've got on the table right now. So went downstairs, pulled out that SIG Kadet MkII 90% built airplane that I purchased from Facebook, I don't know, maybe a month and a half or so ago now. I'm not sure, I recall exactly. And as you saw in that video, it did not have any covering on the wing. So I have another generous gentleman that's actually going to be sending me a roll of red monocoat. Now, I'm not entirely sure if it's true red or if it's missile red, but it doesn't really matter because I'm just going to cover this wing. So I thought covering a wing would be a good way to kind of break things up, get some different content here, and see if I still have any kind of skills for doing that. So one of the things I did was I dug out my Coverite iron from the garage. Hasn't been used in many years. Hopefully it still works. I guess I need to test that. But what I've got here is I've got the wing on the table here, and I've rearranged some things on the table. Lighting is in different spots so I can actually facilitate doing this type of thing. So the first thing I needed to do in preparation for covering this wing is I need to assess the quality of this wing and whether it's ready to accept covering. So I was looking at it and I see a lot of, and I know I've got the camera set up the best way I can. There's a lot of T-pin holes in here. Like, this guy really followed the instructions in the SIG manual to the T, no pun intended. There's a lot of T-pin holes in here. So this quality of this construction, it looks really good. Now, the one thing I do have to repair here is in transit with me, somehow I managed to hit this top of this wing rib here and it's cracked. It hasn't broken off, but I've got some CA that I'm going to be fixing that with. So one half of this wing, this half here, does not have the cap strips installed. That feels a little rough. That may have to have a little bit of sanding done on it. So this side doesn't have cap strips on top or bottom, so that's going to have to be done. We've got a little bit of a ding here, which I don't have any wood filler. I'm not going to be too concerned about filling that. But it looks like we've got a pretty nice wing joint here. It looks pretty level. It looks pretty good. So all in all, I'd say this wing is in pretty good shape. Now, the first thing I did after looking at the top was flipped it over and looked at the bottom and quickly discovered some things that were missing. And the primary thing that's missing from this picture is this plywood wing. They call it WP wing. I don't know what P is supposed to stand for. I'll have to look that up, but it's a dihedral brace. And so I was trying to figure out, where did this guy leave off, and this is exactly where he left off, because I looked in the manual and I can show you that too. I got some cobwebs in here. He just left off at the point where this is actually installed at this point after the top is sheeted. Because at first I thought, well, he just made a mistake. He screwed up. But I look at the manual and that's not the case. So the thing is, this isn't just a quick and easy drop-in piece. There's going to have to be a little bit of sanding and cutting done here to facilitate this, because these two wing spars don't... there's about a 30 seconds difference here. It's enough that this isn't just going to quickly and easily slide in there. So this, and you may be saying, well, why are you even worried about putting this dihedral brace in here? Well, because you never know, this plane might actually fly someday, so I don't want to omit anything that is a structural piece of this in the chance that I see another ding here. Oh well. In the chance that this thing does take flight someday. So this is something that needs to be done. All the cap strips need to be put on, and then of course the bottom sheeting needs to be put on. So the next decision I needed to make, and is probably about where he was at too in his decision making process, is a 3-channel or a 4-channel radio, or 3-channel or 4-channel airplane. Because of the fact that I'm going to make this a 3-channel plane, so I'm not going to worry about putting a wing servo in here. I'm not going to put ailerons on here. What I'm going to do is the ailerons that I've got for this are just going to be glued to the back, and it's going to be a 3-channel plane. And I've got several reasons for why I'm making that decision. And the first is, believe it or not, I've never ever owned and flown a 3-channel airplane before. So that's one reason. Maybe there's 3 reasons. The second reason is now I've got a SIG Kadet LT40, which obviously will have 4 channels. But I've never had a 3-channel radio or a 3-channel airplane before, never flown one before. But the next primary reason is because that will make me getting to the covering of this much faster, because there's just a lot more work involved in doing that, to construct a wing servo box and all that kind of stuff. And it's something I'm just really not I'm not really all that excited about doing too much woodworking in here because of the little bit of balsa dust that's going to be generated, and trying to do things, arrange my time to do this kind of stuff while Sasha's sleeping during her afternoon or most of the day sleeping thing. Because the last thing I need is her to come up here and start, screwing around with stuff, because I'm going to have to pick this stuff up every day and put it away and figure out where I'm going to do that. Because I share this room with her, and I don't want her to ever feel uncomfortable about coming in this room and doing things in this room, because we play in here, her cat box is in here, so this room has to be completely comfortable for her. And I can't do anything that's going to be frightening her or scaring her or shooing her away or anything like that. So, I mean, she is my primary concern here, above a hobby by any means. So her comfort and safety and happiness are paramount to me. So that's how I have to approach this. So the other thing with this wing is I'm trying to figure out what he was thinking here. He's got like this little piece of sheeting here, and I'm not sure if he was just putting that in there as a marker for where the wing servo was going to be. Maybe he was actually planning on making this a 4-channel wing, which I'm not going to do. But the other thing I was looking at is I was looking in the box, and there's only this much of the stock sheeting left. So let's pretend like that isn't there. So when I get that dihedral brace in there, I got a piece there, and then that'll go here. So I don't have enough sheeting here to finish sheeting the bottom of this wing. And I think maybe fairly quickly he realized that too, because in the box was also this piece of balsa, which is obviously purchased. It's Midwest balsa, is a 336 3-inch by 36 inches. So all of this cap stripping and the sheeting is 3/32 inch. So why he bought this and it's cut like this, I don't really know. Because what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to use the remainder of this to fill in the wing sheeting. So it's going to be a little bit more of a chore to put this wing sheeting together. And what I'm going to do almost right away is, like right now, is just pop this thing off, because that's really just in my way. I'll have to do a little bit of sanding here. So the steps for me to, where'd my WP go? The steps for me to actually get this to a point where I can actually cover it is I have to trim out some of this wing ribs here. I have to do that little bit of repair work on that top rib. Maybe do a little bit of quick sanding, add cap strips, excuse me, and then of course put the wing sheeting on. But even after all of that, there's still one more thing that needs to be done. Oh, I have to glue the trailing edges on, or the ailerons, the trailing edges on, and even then there's still some fiberglass tape. It's not really tape, that's what they call it, piece of fiberglass, thin fiberglass that's going to have to go across the wing joint here. And I went to Hobbytown, USA a couple days ago and bought a half-ounce bottle of thin CA so I can do that. I've got some medium right now, which I'll do on this. So what you're going to see is I am going to do the best that I can to actually film these things. And so you can, maybe you get, those of you that are interested, you can see how my building skills are, which aren't all that great. And covering skills, which I haven't done in years either. But another thing that I found in in the garage, I'm trying not to drop this on the wing, is my little miter box and my razor saw. I don't have a nice X-Acto knife kit set right now, so what I'm going to be using for the short term, if I need to do anything, is I'm just going to be using some regular razor blades, because I think I've got a couple more of those. But this razor saw was actually quite rusty and it's bent. I mean, this thing, I can't even tell you how many years old this thing is. It was kind of bent a little bit, so I had to straighten it out. So I'm going to be using this to probably cut cap strips with. I know a lot of times in the past, what I would do when I was doing cap strip material is, I know it doesn't go here, but it's in frame, is I would just do one of these things and just lay it on each one by itself and just either make a quick little mark there with my fingernail and then just hit it with a blade and not bother with a saw for such a short span of material. Now, when it comes to cutting the wing sheeting, I think I'm probably going to have to, use the razor saw, obviously, because I'll be doing a cross cut. I'll be doing across the grain cutting, and if you don't do that, you're just going to have a really nasty looking cut. So anyway, that concludes part one. Let me show you, I guess it doesn't conclude part one because I'm going to show you some stuff in this manual here. So here is the picture of the underside of the wing and where they're showing putting the wing box together. Now there is actually two of these. There's a WP and a WPB. WPB, which is the one that supposedly goes, I don't have it on the table with me, it goes behind the servo box. There's another brace there. But since I'm not doing that, making a servo box, I'm not going to be using that one, but I am going to be installing this WP in here as a strengthener for that. I've got epoxy on hand, a 5-minute epoxy to do that. I've got a little bit of one half of the wing here too, because I was looking at this off camera. I was like, something is not right here, and you can see right here, plywood dihedral brace WP. So that's the thing that had me a little confused, is in the past, or in other planes, like Great Plains kits, if it was a dihedral brace, really a dihedral brace, you would install that in one half of the wing before you joined the wings. So you epoxy it in one side, and then that would be one of the things that facilitated putting the wing together. I guess for this kit, they chose a different approach, which is fine. But it looks like he's got, whoever the owner was of this builder, he did a fairly good job. I mean, a really good job. Probably a little bit better than, I've even seen done, than I've done, at least in many years. But the last thing I want to leave you with here is this manual. And I think this is interesting because I was looking here at the copyright, and it says SIG Manufacturing Copyright Incorporated. The manual copyright date is 1980. Can you see that? 1980. So I don't know if 1980, obviously 1980 might be when this was printed. It might be when the SIG Kadet MkII came out. I don't know. I really don't know. But I kind of love those types of things. And here's the other thing that I was going to mention too is, you see this thing has a fully enclosed cowling. And it's a fiberglass, it's not a fiberglass cloth. It's a very thick ABS cowling. Well, the thing I always had issues with ABS cowls like that is, how do you actually get the color scheme to go all the way on there like this? And in the past when I've done it, I've had to paint those things, and of course you can't get, I've not seen any aircraft or RC aircraft model paint in years, maybe a decade or more. They used to have Top Flight luster coat, I believe it was called. So you can't get that. So when the time comes for me to actually finish this fuselage, which the only thing that really needed to be done would be to install a cowling on there, is I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to frame up a balsa cowling and then just cover it. I've done that many times before, and I kind of like that anyway, because then you can use covering in it, and it will adhere better. You don't have to worry about painting and all that kind of good stuff. But anyway, I hope you're as excited as I am about this, because you're going to get to see me do a little bit of playing with some wood and then hopefully do some covering of this thing too. So thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for more of I've Got Wood.